Welcome back, 10:51 on your Tuesday morning. Stalking and harassment of athletes. This is a topic that has been making national headlines of late, with the Chicago Sky actually recently becoming the first WNBA team to partner with an organization called Moonshot to combat online abuse that is aimed at players and coaches. And this is a problem that doesn't seem to be getting better, because every week, I feel, especially with the WNBA, it's been disappointing to see some of the fan behavior of late. It's an issue that is growing in both scope and seriousness, especially in the age of social media where things go viral, right? So this morning, we are joined by Dr. Anna Belmonte, who is chair of the Forensic Psychology Department at the Chicago School. Dr. Belmonte, welcome to Chicago Now. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. Let me start off by asking you, Dr. Belmonte, what is your reaction to what we've seen of late on social media with regard to the WNBA? Does any of it surprise you, or is this par for the course, America in 2025?
Yes and no. Unfortunately, a lot of it is par for the course in the social media age, but it doesn't mean that that's not very disappointing and sad to see, and nobody should be experiencing anything related to stalking, like the behavior that these players are experiencing.
Do you think that it's gotten worse with time, or is it just more widespread? We're getting the message more often now compared to in the past.
I think that stalking in general is a act that has been in existence for many, many years. I think we're hearing a lot more of it because of the rise of social media, the prevalence of athletes. I think in the WNBA specifically, women's sports has gotten such a great new presence in the past few years. And so we're seeing so much more of it on our news, media, social media feeds. And again, that's just the day and age we now live in, with immediate access to people through our phones and computers.
Is there anything that you can tell us, as non-psychologists, kind of layperson's terms, what condition or mental illness tends to be consistent in people who exhibit this kind of stalking behavior?
Yeah, great question. So in general, people who have a mental illness, especially serious mental illnesses, tend to be the victims of violent crimes versus the perpetrators. However, in the very small group of celebrity stalkers, those people do tend to have mental illnesses, things from delusional beliefs, something called erotomania, where somebody believes that the person that they are infatuated with loves them in return. And so in this specific subset of individuals with stalking behaviors, they do exhibit some signs of mental illness.
So sorry, your answer kind of confused me a little bit. So the stalker person has the signs of mental illness. Did you say that the person who is being stalked also? Or maybe I just misunderstood you.
No, in general, people who have mental illness tend to be the victims, and so I always want to make that clear. But in this very small subset of people, the perpetrators do have a mental illness. Research has found most often. In the general scheme of things and violence in America, people who have a mental illness are more likely to be a victim versus a perpetrator in general.
But not for this specific subset.
Correct.
Interesting.
Yep.
Okay. And what resources are available for folks that are being victimized here to kind of regain a sense of safety?
Sure. First of all, reporting, obviously, the issue to law enforcement for investigation. But mental health services such as therapy and counseling support groups are always great. I think people who have been the victim of stalking, they may exhibit symptoms like hypervigilance or avoidant behaviors, things that are very similar to post-traumatic stress disorder. And all of those symptoms are things that a counselor or a therapist, psychologist would be able to help with.
Is there any suggestion that you have for people who maybe want to avoid being stalked? Is there a way to make you less of a target to these people?
Absolutely. I think in the general public, most times stalking is in the context of intimate partner violence. But on these celebrity cases, there's a lot of things that people or like the teams can do to try to diminish their presence on the internet. For example, I see a lot of times sports teams are maybe filming the entrance into the building that for a game, for example.
Yep.
Those sorts of things help perpetrators understand the person's schedule, know where they're going to be at a certain time. It maybe shows them behind the scenes things that they might not have normally been aware of, such as like how do you enter a building or how do the players enter the building. And so watching, being careful of what's being posted and when it's being posted, I think is the biggest piece that can reduce some of these experiences.
You mentioned, teams taking corrective action and maybe choosing a specific location if they want to keep with that content that is so nondescript that no one would be able to draw any kind of location or timing conclusions from that particular footage. The Chicago Sky is partnering with Moonshot. This is, to my knowledge, the first WNBA team to actually make this formal partnership. Do you think that we're going to see more teams and organizations adopt similar policies?
I hope so. I think there's a large body of research out there that can help people understand how stalking happens, and companies like that may be able to help the team build that knowledge and enact those safeguards as we just mentioned.
If someone feels like they are being stalked or they've got concerns, what should they do? Do they go to the police? Do they make a police report? Do they talk to, family or friends? Or what would you recommend?
I think all of the above. Documentation is a huge piece. And if somebody is getting threatening text messages, or some of the celebrities are probably seeing posts on social media about them, those things should be documented, because stalking hinges on, stalking cases hinges on that documentation, that longevity of the behavior. And so any of that documentation would be essential for law enforcement officers to have in order to either determine who the individual is, or end up finding who they are and where they are to apprehend them.
It's such a big problem. Dr. Anna Belmonte with the Chicago School, thank you so much for your time and insight. Really appreciate it.